All right, I reset my computer. Can you hear me now? Check, check, check. All right, I think you guys can hear me. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry for the delay. Let's just start this all over. Thank God. Welcome back to the FanSpeak Network. Today, I'm going to break down. We're going to ignore these last 5 minutes, and we're going to break down everything we saw in the National Football League yesterday. Let's hit the open one more time. All right, take two, guys. Thank you for bearing with me here. And it's kind of funny coming off a pretty good day of picking winners. Now, of course, I have these problems. But the first thing I want to start with is the Vikings and the Jets, because I know that Meg and I are going to disagree about this line that Rodgers put up. Looked pretty good from fantasy perspective. 244 yards, 2 touchdowns. Garrett Wilson finally becomes worthy of that first-round pick that we all spent on him, with 13 receptions for 101 yards. But I really didn't think that Rodgers looked that good. To be fair, the Vikings do have one of the best defenses in the NFL, and we know they do have complex blitzing schemes. If anybody was going to be able to diagnose and take those apart, it would be Rodgers. But I'm still a little bit worried about his ability to basically just make things happen. He's moving a lot slower than he used to, and he's really relying on being comfortable. So I'm curious to see. We know that the Davante Adams sweepstakes were picking up, and we saw how much that his loss meant to that Las Vegas Raiders offense that looked absolutely terrible yesterday without him. Now let's go to the other side of the ball for the Minnesota Vikings. What is Sam Darnold's? Okay, and I'm going to get to that question, Steve. It was one of Sam Darnold's worst games. So I think that both teams have good defenses. For how good I rate both these defenses, huh? I mean, game went to 40 points. I thought it could have been even more low scoring. The Jets did have an opportunity there at the end, but the Vikings defense did hold sound. It seems like the Jets will be on that Davante Adams sweepstakes for a little more fantasy breakdowns. Aaron Jones went out, and we had been drafting Ty Chandler all summer. Didn't do much with the opportunity there, right? Didn't necessarily wrest that job from Aaron Jones, as he had 14 carries for only 30 yards. Once again, though, Jets defense is one of the best in the league. Don't want to take too much from that game, but Meg, I'm going to hold strong on my idea that I just don't think that Rodgers is going to be good at this age. And I think that maybe the Jets and their fans were a little bit too excited for a quarterback who's way past his prime. So we'll see if that continues. Of course, they will be playing on Monday Night Football next week, and they'll be taking on the Buffalo Bills. Should be interesting, man. Josh Allen got banged up. Maybe he misses that game. If so, could be a good opportunity for the Jets to kind of salvage their season, because at 2-3, things are looking rough. But they do have an opportunity, of course, especially if the Bills are missing their best player. All right, let's see what Meg says. She says their last 2 weeks were against the Broncos and the Vikings. Give it time. Okay, I'll give it time, but I'm just saying if you're really good, what they're expecting Rodgers to be, I think that you should be able to perform against even the best defenses. Maybe it's not going to be elite, but it'll be better than the last 2 weeks. Yeah, and you're right. Yeah, I think it will improve because he did go against two of the best defenses. I'm just saying for a team that had championship hopes, I'm just not seeing it right now. The offense looks one-dimensional. They can't get the run game going. The offensive line was supposed to be improved, and we know they have good runners. So a lot of that does come down to the blocking. Rodgers has been getting the ball out quick. However, it doesn't allow times for routes to develop, and this offense really seems one-dimensional. Garrett Wilson was complaining about Nathaniel Hackett. I know that they got him involved a lot more this week, but hey, maybe it might not even on Rodgers. Maybe just because he needs to handpick his coaches because he can't have anyone he disagrees with there. But we still got to agree that Hackett's probably one of the worst when it comes to offense coordinating. And I don't think Robert Saleh is much better. So as excited as the Jets fans were going into this season, it might be all for naught. Andrew says, is Braylon Allen just better than Breece Hall? And that's why it's so crazy, because if you only watch this year, that's what you would think. But will we see this before, right? With Tony Pollard, when he looked better than Ezekiel Elliott, and sometimes Jalen Warren looks better than Najee Harris. I wonder how he'd look in the full-time role. But right now, he does look a lot better. And it's tough for us, so many people that did spend those first-round picks on Breece Hall, when we should just grab a wide receiver like Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson and grab a Derrick Henry or Saquon Barkley in round 2. Unfortunately, Jonathan Taylor, another round 2 guy, not necessarily paying off. But speaking of guys that were paying off, and Derrick Henry is one of them. Yesterday, 15 attempts, 92 yards, and a rush to Lamar Jackson. What a day for the elite quarterback. 348 yards for 4 touchdowns. Joe Burrow would not be outdone with 392 yards and 5 touchdowns yesterday, but it was not enough. Jamar Chase's best game of the season, 10 receptions, 193 yards, 2 touchdowns. So my question to you, chat, my question for you, is it over for the Bengals? Is it over for the Cincinnati Bengals, who fell to 1-4 and lost a game that I really felt like they were going to win? A lot of, I do a lot of networking, a lot of sharp people won a lot of money betting the NFL. We're on the Bengals to bounce back at home, but the Ravens improved to 3-2. Bengals fall to 1-4, and I asked the question once again, hey, is the fact that they don't pay these guys and there's so much contract problems swirling around this team, is this finally coming home to roost? And I can understand not paying T. Higgins, but to not pay Jamar Chase, I mean, look what he did. Look what he did yesterday. And that guy's definitely worth the money. And the fact they've still lost too much on their defensive line. And I'll have to look ahead on the schedule. But, boy, looks like the Cincinnati Bengals are in trouble. I'm not going to be not betting on them for the rest of the year, but for their playoff hopes, I really wonder here. It was nice to see the Bengals offense get back on track, but they just can't put the full game together, right? The offense finally clicks, but the defense gives up 41. Meg says it's not over, but worse than years past. Yeah, I mean, of course they're going to be alive, and they would be live if they made the playoffs, right? Because obviously if they were to make the playoffs, they were going in red hot. I just wonder if this is too much for Joe Burrow and company to overcome. The Buffalo Bills fell short against the Texans, and fantasy darling Josh Allen, after having the best 3 weeks to start the season, obviously the QB1, so much good stuff that we saw from Josh Allen. Looked like he got concussed yesterday, and I'm wondering if he's going to sit out again that game against the Jets. Could be a break that the Jets desperately need, because like I said earlier, I'm not high on what the Jets are doing, especially with that coaching staff. But the Bills fall to 3-2 after starting 3-0, and they got blown out last week. This game was a lot closer, and I really thought that Josh Allen was going to come back and do it, but it was too little, too late for Buffalo's team. C.J. Stroud looked great once again, throwing for 330 yards. Cam Makers, 9 attempts, 42 yards. I mean, he did what he needed to do. Stephon Diggs had an all right game. Nico Collins left the game with the hamstring injury, and I think at this point, Collins is so much better than Diggs. It's nice to be able Diggs to fall back on, but he's definitely regressed. Keon Coleman got on the board, but it was not enough. He had a 49-yard TD, but that was only receptions. All right, Meg says, if I'm hard on Rodgers, I need to be hard on Allen. I mean, he was playing with a concussion. He probably shouldn't have been out there. So that's where I think that I'll give Josh Allen a pass. Also, Josh Allen had 3 excellent weeks and played at the top of this game. We haven't seen anything from Rodgers all year. So, yes, for week 5, I need to be hard on Josh Allen. But let's get through this concussion protocol and get back to himself. And I think for the rest of the year, there's no question who you'd rather have. Josh Allen's still a top 5 guy in the game, and Aaron Rodgers is going to be at best the 15th best quarterback. I'm All right, and let's see. Meg says, weird to me, he looked like he was concussed and only set out one snap. Concussion was late in the game. And he says, versus the Pats, one of the worst teams in the league, Rodgers looked sharp. Okay, so if we play teams that are drafted in top 5 in the NFL, Aaron Rodgers is the man. But actually, Josh Allen's done it against a really good person. No, you're right, though. I probably should. It's just we've seen so much from him so far this year, and I expect him to bounce back. And I think there's still questions around Rodgers swirling. Is he ever going to bounce back at 40 years old? I mean, he does a lot of drugs. It could be past his time. So we'll see, though. You are right, though. I do play favorites, and Josh Allen is one of my favorites. So, I'm probably being a little light on him while I'm being hard on Aaron Rodgers. So this is why I always talk about the chat holding me accountable for my takes, and I think Meg's doing just that. Good morning, Tyler. You haven't missed much. I basically just said that Aaron Rodgers sucks. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I don't have much thoughts on that game. I was not awake for that one either, so
okay.
We could just get right into the Sunday slate, the actual slate.
Okay, let's talk about. I went over the Ravens and the Bengals. Do you think the Bengals can bounce back and make the playoffs, or was that the death knell for this season?
No, that's definitely not the death knell. They could still make it. I mean, they look really good. They miss a kick. They should be 2 and 3. I think they can still make the playoffs. I mean, what price are you getting on that? It might even be worth a bet.
Yeah, I'll be interested. 1-4 and in a very tough division, but we did see your Pittsburgh Steelers come back to earth last night, and boy, how disappointing was that for me as the team Tomlin truther here. Boy, that was a rough loss. Baltimore Ravens now improved to 3-2. What did you think of them, Tyler?
Yeah, their offensive line problems don't look like they're that much of a problem anymore, so they're going to probably be the best team in the AFC North again. They're probably going to win the division. They're going to be – so everyone's going to pick them to win the Super Bowl again. They'll probably fizzle out in the playoffs. So,
I mean, Lamar Jackson continues to improve. That was one of the best performances I've seen from him in his career yesterday, and that's the type of excitement we want to see from that player. We're going to get to that, Meg. I completely disagree there.
They both suck.
I mean, I didn't think Fields was a problem in that game, but we'll get to that one a little later. The other one I was talking about was Bills Texans. Meg correctly called me out for bashing Aaron Rodgers, but giving Josh Allen a pass for his worst performance of the season. What did you see in that one, Tyler?
Yeah, I mean, that was an ugly one from the Bills. I mean, they were able to fight back in the end, but it was already after Houston had the game won. Then they kind of took their foot off the gas. So Houston gets the job done again with a game that they didn't look all that impressive in, but win's a win.
Yeah, and that was very important for this Houston team as they improved to 4-1 now. Bills fall to 3-2, and be facing a tough game next Monday night. If Allen is forced to sit, Bills could be in trouble. That was worst performance of Allen's career. Was it? I thought he might had some bad ones in the rookie year, but worst performances has become a star for sure. Tyler, a game that my projections love that I wasn't sure about, and I'm glad that we just listened to the projections, is I had this as a 10-point win for the Bears. In fact, Tyler, my projections were a bit light as the Chicago Bears won by 26. Let's wipe away that one win against the disastrous, disgusting franchise that is the Las Vegas Raiders. And this Panthers team sucks, like I've been saying all along. Andy Dalton only had 136 yards, so that little fairy tale is over. There was a reason he was a backup. Chuba Hubbard did great for all zero RB builders in best ball, so that was nice for him to see, but they're not going to get there enough. And Deontay Johnson disappeared, so no more Dalton to Deontay connection there. Caleb Williams, another good game. He continues to improve. Shows why he was the number 1 overall pick with a 304-yard, 2-touchdown performance. DeAndre Swift was passable, but boy, I think that Roschon Johnson is just as good there. And DJ Moore looked great against his former team as he was the Bears receiver that Caleb found this week with 105 yards and 2 touchdowns. Tyler, the Bears are quietly 3-2, maybe one of the worst 3-2 teams I've ever seen, but maybe I'm just a little bit hard on this team because their 2 losses, they look so bad. At 3-2, the Chicago Bears have to be excited. if not for this year, but for the future. Caleb Williams seems to be improving every week, and the Panthers, they are who we thought they were, a complete disaster. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, Panthers are a complete disaster. They looked good against the one team that made another shitty quarterback look good this week, so we'll get to that later. But yeah, I mean,
oh gosh,
Carolina is absolutely terrible. Chicago, on the other hand, I think they're going to make the playoffs. Like, yeah, they looked bad in the beginning, but their defenses carried them a lot of these games. They have one of the best secondaries in the league. Caleb's finding his weapons and getting his groove now, so I think they can make a wild card spot. Maybe.
I don't think they make the playoffs simply because they're in the toughest division in the NFL, and those division games are going to be brutal. But I think that they have to be happy with what they're building down there. So I think it's an exciting performance for Bears fans overall. Any more thoughts before we move on to the best team in the NFC East?
No, we can get to Washington.
Oh my gosh. Can you imagine wanting to have Kirk Cousins over Jaden Daniels, the most exciting young player in the National Football League? Couldn't be me, Tyler. Couldn't be me. I'm Team Jaden. And once again, he proved me right. I get to at least victory lap that one as he completely outplayed the most overpaid bum in the history of the NFL, Deshaun Watson. Tyler, let's give the Commanders their props, but I think the main question really is how long can they trot this bum out there in Cleveland? I mean, what's the freaking point?
They said they're keeping him out there, so I mean,
why
keep betting against them? I don't know.
That's a slap in the face of the other 52 men in that locker room.
Stefanski said he's sticking with his quarterback and he needs to coach better. So,
well, Stefanski is quite a stand-up guy because this is not his fault. He has a complete bum playing quarterback, and I mean, it's just terrible. It's just terrible. I mean, I don't even know what to say. I feel so bad for the Browns fans. I mean, I thought that being a Raiders fan sucked. Only thing worse is I'd be being a Browns fan. It's just absolutely terrible. Okay, well, it's too bad that organization it insists on insulting the 52 men that are in there working hard by putting that absolute bum on the field. All right, Tyler, enough negativity, though. Let's talk about the best story going in the NFL right now, and that's the turnaround of the Washington Commanders. Boy, fans of the Browns, fans of the Raiders, fans of the Jacksonville Jaguars, they have to be jealous, Tyler, seeing an organization do things right. You get rid of the bad ownership. You bring in a competent ownership group. You bring in a solid head coach who knows what he's doing with veteran experience. You bring in an innovative offensive quarterback. But you know what you really do? What really matters? You take that quarterback early in the draft and you nail the pick. Drake May might end up being good. Caleb Williams might end up being a Hall of Famer. But the Commanders have to be absolutely happy that they have Jaden McDaniels under center. The question is, what does beating the Browns even mean? The Raiders beat the Browns. This went from one of the worst defenses, and I think they gave up. Because why would you try hard? Would I try hard if Deshaun Watson was on my team? It's a slap in the face to me as a human being. So I know this is Overreaction Monday. I don't know if I want to overreact this win. I know they're 4-1, but they have beaten some crappy teams. Although that Arizona win does look a little better after seeing what they did in San Francisco.
I still think they're the best team in the NFC East. Overreaction or not, Philly looks like shit. Dallas can't stop a cold. The Giants are the Giants.
I still can't believe Dallas won that game. Utterly disgusting.
Yeah. So I think Washington's still the best team in the division. I'm going to keep saying it. When you draft a quarterback that is one of these older quarterbacks that's been in college a while, this is what they're supposed to look like when they get to the league. They are supposed to hit the ground running, not like Kenny Pickett did. When they look bad like that, you get rid of them like we did. Yeah. Jaden Daniels is a star. I mean, the dude's already top 5 in MVP voting. Like, you look at the odds, he is 5th in odds right now at 11-1. Can he win it? Probably not, because no rookie's ever won it, I believe, outside of somebody way back in the day. So I don't see that happening, but Rookie of the Year is his to lose. They're going to make the playoffs. They're going to be a fun story. It's just how many years does this story stay alive?
He's got, to me, he feels like the most valuable player because let's look at that team. Offensive line, still not very good. That defense, still not very good. But we talked about how much Deshaun Watson is probably bringing down that locker room. How much do you think Jaden Daniels and his electric play is bringing up that Commanders locker room, right? The defense has to feel, even if we make a mistake, Jaden got my back. I can afford to be a little more aggressive on coverage. I can afford to let it all hang out because we're not absolutely dead if I don't make a play or if I don't get a turnover, if I don't make a big stop. Great things going on in Washington, Megan. I couldn't be happier for you. And I would say maybe one day I'll get to experience that, but I'm a Raiders fan, so that will not happen for me. The Jacksonville Jaguars, Tyler, I didn't want to make this play. You talked me into it, and you were absolutely right as they continue or not continue, but they were able to turn things around. They got their first win of the season. To be fair, though, they didn't really look that good. If you watch this is where fantasy gets weird. I don't think Trevor had a great day. I didn't really think he looked that good.
No, I mean,
Flacco looked pretty good.
Wins a win, cash the bet for us. I mean, it was like they would score and then the Colts would score back, and then Jacksonville would just respond with another score. So I mean, they did their job. Yeah. Tank Bigsby seems to have overtaken that backfield. I don't blame him at this point. Etienne looks like dog crap. So definitely go with Tank Bigsby. Lawrence, I mean, 350 yards, a couple touchdowns. Brad Thomas was very impressive. He got up over 100 a touchdown. And they got the win for us. So, I mean, I'm happy with it. I'm not going to sit here and say Jacksonville's going to make the playoffs or anything, but probably won't bet them again this week.
Who do they
Actually, they're in London. We might bet them again.
Oh, against Chicago.
Yep.
Yeah. I can't wait till tomorrow, bro. I like to look at the line Sunday night. Not a lot jumped out to me that I said I have to play this right now. A lot of these teams have holes. A lot of these teams have weaknesses, and it was tough to.
One thing we do got to touch on now, just because you said you looked ahead and we're not playing, you don't like a lot of spots next week. Mm-hmm. One thing we're not doing spread is teasers.
Brother,
teaser we did. They both lost straight up.
Yeah, just try. At least we only lost one bet instead of two.
Very true, but still, just bad this year.
We'll get on to that. Tyler, confession time. I did not watch one snap with the Patriots and the Dolphins. Did you?
Nope. Keep it moving.
Do we care?
I don't think there's anything that needs to be talked about here.
Tyler,
what are we going to talk about? The battle for the first pick?
I mean, Tua might be back in week 7.
Who?
They're saying Tunga Bailoa might come back in week 7.
He'll be out by week 9.
Fair enough. Could be Drake May season down there. But yeah, 2 franchises that are definitely struggling. At least the Patriots didn't overpay a guy that didn't deserve it. So I think they have a better future personally. I think Miami's in trouble. Hill's getting old. I mean, Waddle's good, but a lot of teams have good wide receivers. The offensive line sucks.
They're frustrated because they're not getting the ball.
Well, yeah. Yeah. I mean, to be fair to the Miami franchise, obviously, they kind of knew if Tua goes out, we're screwed. So, I mean, what were they really going to do?
Very true.
They just shouldn't have paid him all that money.
I agree, but that's what they did.
Yeah, and I guess I say that a lot, and the man in Dallas made me look stupid last night when I say he's a mediocre QB, but
certain ones deserve to be paid a lot of money. Dak is really good.
Is he?
Yes.
All right, we'll get to that.
Of all the quarterbacks that have gotten paid this offseason, he's probably the best one. How many quarterbacks nowadays make audibles at the line and change their protections? Not a lot of them.
Oh, let's not go too far. Great.
Name me the quarterbacks that are better than Dak.
Mahomes, Allen, CJ Stroud, Jaden Daniels, Jordan Love, Matt Stafford.
That one I'm not letting you get away with yet. He's still the best quarterback in his division. I don't care how cool Jaden Daniels looked through 5 games. Jaden Daniels is not better than Dak yet.
Who would you rather have in Pittsburgh?
What, Dak or the guys we have?
Jaden Daniels or Dak Prescott?
Dak Prescott.
No way.
You're falling in love with the shiny new toy too fast.
All right. Well, I'll take a shiny new toy over a guy that I know is going to completely fall apart in the playoffs and is going to. So, if we're talking regular season, you're right.
Until Dallas signed Dak to that long-term deal right before Week 1 kicked off, I had small hopes in my head that they would be dumb enough to let him walk and not pay him. And the Steelers looked at Fields and Russ and just kicked him out and signed Dak and just gave him all the money.
Yeah, I could be wrong, but I just don't trust him when it counts. To me, he's like the James Harden of the NFL. He's going to put up great regular season numbers, but do you think he's ever going to do anything when it counts with the game on the line? I just don't see it. You know, I mean, and I guess you're right because James Harden is a great player, but I just not going to win championship. Yeah, Meg, you like Dak, but that's because you play fantasy. And he's a great fantasy player. Speaking of fantasy players, bro, how did the 49ers lose that game?
Just one of them spots. They just couldn't get out of their own way.
I mean, the excuses are kind of gone now. Debo's back. Kittle's back. Ayuk had a big game.
Ayuk caught everything that was thrown his way that game.
Pardon?
I said Ayuk caught everything that was thrown his way that game. I think he had like 180 receiving yards. And they still blew the game in the end. They just couldn't finish off. And it's almost like they couldn't run the clock out. Like Jordan Mason couldn't chew that clock for him. So maybe the old plug in the running backs and just run behind this offensive line isn't going to work like we used to think it would. So it's very interesting to see what the 49ers are going to do.
I mean, to be fair, Mason had 89 yards on only 14 carries. The issue was that huge fumble. Because I think we're having a way different conversation if he's able to hold on to the ball.
I want to look and see how many yards he had outside of that big chunk run he had.
Yeah, but most running back statistics are like that.
Yeah, but if he averaged 5 yards a carry and on 14 carries he had a long of 60 yards, he didn't do a damn thing all game.
I don't know. So I don't know what to make this 49ers team, Tyler. You know, I've been team 49ers this whole time, just thinking they're going to turn things around. But seems to be a disconnect there on the defensive side of the ball.
So take out his 1 carry for 34 yards.
But can't we do that with every single running back that has a big day?
But he didn't have a big day, spread. He had 14 for 89 and no touchdown.
That's still not bad, though. What's the average? I'm trying to think off the top of my head.
55 on 13 carries.
It's not bad.
It's not bad, but it's not great against an Arizona run defense that has gotten gouged all year. You should have been able to chew the clock for your offense to win the game.
I mean, Connor had 19 for 86. But I would say visually, Connor was a way better runner because I felt that he was getting hit earlier in the right? Like he made more things happen.
Not even just that. Connor was playing from behind. Shouldn't even been running the ball.
Okay. So my question is, what do these two teams going forward? Because I'll tell you what, when it was 23-10 in the first half, I was watching over at my buddy's house and I go, Cardinals suck. Kyler sucks. They're in trouble. The same stuff I always say. They shouldn't have paid him. Da, 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 da. Then the Cardinals come back now that both teams are 2-3. What do we do with these teams, Tyler?
Maybe downgrade San Fran a little bit. Leave the Arizona where they're at.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, unfortunately, I think that we are going to have to downgrade San Francisco. If you were to say what's the issue that this team is having, what is it? For me, it's poor tackling on the defensive end.
Yeah, poor tackling. It's the missing part of CMC. It's just a weird setup for them right now.
But it's weird though because they were able to make the Super Bowl before they got McCaffrey, so this offense shouldn't be that bad without him.
Yeah, but it wasn't the likes of Jordan Mason running the ball behind him. You had like Mostert, Jeff Will. They had the Miami backfield minus A-Chain.
Okay, fair enough. All right, so Tyler, not a big fan of Jordan Mason. We'll see if he's able to get back into your good graces with a performance against Seattle next week, and we'll talk about Seattle here. Actually, let's talk about them right now. We'll save the most disgusting franchise in the history of the NFL. All right, what happened to the Seahawks, bro?
That was terrible. We can't bet them until their defensive guys are back. They looked so bad.
I mean, offense fairly inconsistent too.
They got carved up by Tyrone Tracy and Eric Gray. Like Malik Neighbor.
Bro, Daniel Jones made some good plays, but overall, I mean, I expected this offense to be better.
Yeah, they didn't look good on offense. They weren't able to run the ball at all, which was very weird. I mean, it was just an ugly game for Seattle.
Yeah, and they're going to have to get right back at it, taking on the 49ers on Thursday Night Football. They're hosting them. Right now, they're catching 3 points. That'll be interesting. And, of course, we'll talk about that a little more on tomorrow's show. The Packers defeated the Rams. Final score is 24-19. It wasn't even really that close. Love just made one stupid play that made it look close. Jacobs looked good again. I definitely missed him. Tucker Kraft was the best ball late round darling now. He's way better than Luke Musgrave in my eyes. And the Rams put forth a respectable showing given all the injuries they've had. Your thoughts on this game and what do we do with the Packers?
I mean, I still think the Packers are one of the better teams in the league. Love's still working his way back in after the injury. I know the Minnesota game was his first game back. Then he has this game. The only thing I didn't like seeing from them towards the end of the game is when they should have just been running the ball and getting the clock off. They were still throwing the ball with Love. I don't know what that was about, if they were just trying to keep the ball in the air. But in the end, I still think they're really good. They're right up there with Minnesota and Detroit in that division. So I'm still on Green Bay. I still think they're one of the better teams in the league. I'd still take shots on them 25-1 to win the Super Bowl. Love still 45-1 to win MVP. If they start ripping off wins, he could easily put his name back in that conversation.
I'd rather take that MVP bet than that Super Bowl bet.
I think you cash them both.
I can't see him win a Super Bowl. All right. The Vegas Raiders. I mean, do we want to talk about this? I mean, you can hear me lament, but I mean, the team just
suck. That is literally my take on it. They suck. They are the worst franchise in the NFL. They have
except for Cleveland Browns.
Coach. They have a useless guy for a head coach who should have never gotten the job, but because he won a couple games last year, he got the job. They need a real coach. They need a real quarterback. They need to fire everything and tear it down.
Yeah, but I mean, we're always going to suck. It's so depressing. Let's talk about the Broncos.
Till you get bull cut out of ownership, then you'll be able to do something.
And we're not. I mean, he's not that old.
He needs a new.
We got him for like another 20 years. And he's making money hand over fist. So it's like, why would he sell?
You guys are screwed. You guys got to find some dirt on him.
We're fucked. All right, let's talk about the Broncos, bro. They're 3-2 now. Bo Nix looked absolutely fantastic. 206 yards, 2 TDs. What a great call by me, Tyler. Are you ready to give my prop check? I
take nothing. I
can see quarterbacks, Tyler. I see the potential. I believe in them.
I take nothing from beating the poverty franchise of the NFL.
How about 3 wins, 2 losses?
Andy Dalton threw for 300 yards against his defense. He gets no credit for beating the Raiders.
So just 3 wins as a rookie means nothing.
Jaden Daniels has 4 wins.
I'm not saying he's better than Jaden Daniels. I'm saying he's a good player.
He did nothing to win the game last week. It was all the defense. He's not getting any credit.
He put up 34 points this week and would have been even more if Troy Franklin knew how to catch.
Yeah, it was against the Raiders that Andy Dalton threw for 350 yards against. Who couldn't throw for 100 yards against the Bears? Your team sucks. There's no credit getting given to Denver here.
You need to get on Denver train, bro.
No, if
This
anyone's getting
is a
credit,
good
it's their
franchise.
defense.
They have
Their
a good
defense
coach.
looks good.
Yeah, defense looks great. This Denver team is for real.
No, it's not.
All right. Do you want to talk about what happened last night?
That was ugly.
How did we lose that bet, bro? What's up?
I said it sucks that they made us wait for the game so long.
Dude. Okay, so Meg wants to blame Justin Fields. There's no way. That's not his fault. Your guys' offensive line sucks, and he probably has the worst receiving core in the league.
Receiving core stunk. I said that from the beginning of the year outside of Pickens.
And even he's not like elite. Like, I think I can think of 15 guys that rather have Pickens.
The defense did exactly what it did last year. It looks like a brick wall for the first half. And then just slowly, as the other team just starts to rack up plays on the defense, they get tired. And then all of a sudden, Rico Dowdle looks like he could run the ball. These receivers are getting open. The defense is tired because a lot of these guys are old, and that's exactly what happened. They let Dallas's offense get way too many plays, and that's how they lose games. They have to keep their offense on the field and chew clock to keep their defense energy up, to keep them from being winded, and they just couldn't do that for them last night. And by the end of the game, Dallas was up and down that field as easy as they wanted. Dallas should have won that game by multiple touchdowns, but Dak threw multiple picks in the red zone. They just couldn't pound it in. And in the end, it took a late touchdown to win the game. So Steelers should have won, but they just couldn't move the ball.
Yeah. And I know Meg wants to say Field sucks, but it's like, who is he throwing to? And that offensive line isn't good. And they're not able to get the running attack going. They should have been able to run all over that team. For Najee Harris to only have 42 yards rushing. So, okay, but my point is, Meg, the offense looked bad, but I'm not putting that on the QB. Yes, he could have played better. Of course, he could have played better. But that's not his fault. That they should have. What was our handicap going into the game? Why did we love Pittsburgh so much, Tyler? Because Dallas had the 32nd ranked run defense, and they couldn't run the ball on them. And they were missing Michael Parkinson and DeMarcus Lawrence, and they still couldn't establish the run. I think the issue was the offensive line. And then you could say, yeah, Field sucks, but who is he throwing to? Like, every throw has to be perfect. These guys can't get open.
No, they have no separation whatsoever.
And Pickens is just like, I'm trying to think, one of those guys that only makes.
Everyone thinks Pickens is so good, but he can't get separation either. And all he does is make fancy catches.
He just makes highlight catches in coverage. Yeah. So I think you guys should try and get Devontae.
I think we should draft the Boise State running back after this year.
That Junti kid?
Whatever kid's running for 300 yards in the first half.
Yeah, dude's badass. All right. Let's see. Meg says, I think we'll see if it's Field soon. She thinks that Russell Wilson will be back by week 7 or 8. Tomlin's not going to put up with Fields' fumbles and mistakes. Yeah, once again, I mean, even if you put Russ under there, you still can't run block, and you still have to throw a perfect pass.
One fumble.
These guys can't get open.
I don't know how many times he fumbled last night, but the one fumble that's sticking in my head is the one where the offensive lineman literally got pushed on his back and the D tackle grabbed the hold of Fields like right as the ball was snapped. They were playing in a mud bath last night too, so holding on to that ball wasn't fun. It just wasn't a fun game.
I just think that offensive line is so bad. The fact that you guys have 3 wins with that
on that offensive line too.
Yeah, I mean it's just tough scene. And then as much as we love Najee, and that was such a fun bit to do all summer when we were drafting. I mean, what does he do that's above average?
He's like the Walmart version of Derrick Henry is the best way to put it. He can't break out this. He doesn't have the breakaway speed that Derrick Henry has. He's built like him, but he can't run the ball like him.
Yeah, he's like, I'm trying to even think.
He's the Walmart version of Derrick Henry. He's
not even that good. He's like a Walmart version of like, I don't even know. Jamal Williams. Like, he's not that good. He's simply not that good, and it's just too bad because I really want him to be good, and it's just not the case. Disappointed in the Steelers. Tyler, let's look ahead to tonight. I'll tell you what, I'm going to be rooting for a low-scoring game because I have a nice entry in weekly winners, and I don't want to get knocked out here. What do you think? Am I going to be happy at the end of the night? Are we going to have a low-scoring game when the New Orleans Saints take on the Kansas City Chiefs? Tyler, this was 5.5 all week. The Saints are taking money. It's now +5. This total is 43. Please go under. Please, because I don't want to get knocked out. I want to win that money. Tyler, I'm leaning towards the Saints in the under, but I don't love it. What do you think?
I was leaning toward the Saints in the under too until I looked at the injury report. I cannot bet the Saints now. Willie Gay out. Taysom Hill out. Both centers and / guards out. Peyton Turner out. Those are a lot of key pieces. Like, I thought the Saints maybe would have been live to win this game. Maybe they still are. There's not going to be a lot of points scored here. The Chiefs really don't have much of an offense without Pacheco or Rice. Like, are they going to go to Kelsey a lot here? And looking at their injury report, they're not really missing anything. Like, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, doubtful. Do we even care? But outside of that, looking at this, 5.5's a lot. Maybe do an alt under here with like knocking the Chiefs spread down a little bit. It's a weird game. If you want to look for touchdown scores, but like you don't want to bet on Kelsey. Worthy at +165 when he's going to get 4 targets isn't worth it. Kareem Hunt's the one, but +130 on a running back, it's hard. Justin Watson, no. P. Ryan, no. Juju, no. Noah Gray, no. Like, this is going to be an ugly game to bet.
What do you think of Xavier Worthy tonight?
It all comes down to targets. Like, is he going to get 4 targets like he's got in the last couple games? Like, even last game when Rice went out, he didn't get all that many targets.
Yeah, they all went to Kelsey.
His prop's still set at 42.5.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he just doesn't rub me as a guy that gets a bunch of targets. Like, I'd rather take the shot on Noah Gray 20.5 than Xavier Worthy. Like, I at least know Noah Gray's getting 4 to 5 targets. Catch me one in the middle of the field wide open, turn around and run for 10 yards.
All right. I like his R&R. What's R&R mean?
I don't know. I'm thinking she means
rush plus receiving. Rush plus receiving.
Oh,
okay. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Tyler, do you think the Chiefs cover this game?
No, I do not think they cover.
So we're still taking the Saints +5 even with all those injuries?
I'm not, but I'm not 100% sure the Chiefs
all right.
cover.
There's a guy watching tonight. He's not a professional bettor. He's going to put in a hard day of work, and he's going to go home, crack a beer, smoke a joint, and put $20 on the game. He wants your advice. He wants to bet. He doesn't care if it's plus EV. He just wants to know what you think. What would you bet?
Bet the under.
Under, okay. All right. Well, I hope you're right, Tyler, because I don't want a lot of fantasy points being put up. And if they do, I hope it goes to guys like Noah Gray and Juju and guys that just aren't rostered. Because, a huge Xavier Worthy, a huge Travis Kelsey. Patrick Mahomes would have to do a lot to overtake Joe Burrow. But, these could potentially be knocking me out of that nice little cash that I got going right now. So I'll be definitely watching this one, and hopefully it will not be delayed. Final thoughts on week 5, Tyler?
Yeah, it was a fun week. There was a lot of points scored. Jacksonville got back on track. Steelers took the loss. It's no fun. But we went 3-1 on the sheet, and we'll keep improving on that as the weeks go on. So keep an eye on
And it should have been 4-0, bro. We should have won that Steelers game.
Yeah, that was an ugly loss to finish off.
Yeah, I mean, it's just so weird. Like, we look at all these stats and everything, and we go, "Oh, a team that loves to run the ball against a team that's 32nd in rush defense." And we've seen teams that we think have worse rush offenses look good against Dallas, and now all of a sudden Dallas is great against the run. So that's why betting the National Football League is hard, but we'll be happily take our 3-1 and we'll move on to next week.
Did you see what
I don't
Pickens
think
did at the end of last night's game?
no.
Just to talk about it real quick. When the D-back from Dallas just like skipped past him with the ball and he just reached out and grabbed his face mask and pulled him down. He just walked
Really?
away. There was like 1
I didn't
second
see
left
that.
in the game. The game was over.
Oh, okay. Wow. Yeah, I don't know what to make of that team, Tyler. I want the Steelers to be good so bad, and it just feels like you guys are just stuck in this land of 9-8.
I told you. They started off good and they won the games they should. Now it's going to be the fun, tough games. So see what happens.
Yeah, unfortunately,
I think your worst enemy, or not your worst enemy, but your worst nightmares this week.
Why? Because our two favorite teams are playing against each other?
Steelers go to Vegas. Who you betting on?
Who are you betting on, Mr. Pessimist?
Probably neither.
You have to make a bet. Who would you take?
The Steelers.
Thank God. I was worried you'd have gone bananas.
I ain't betting on the Raiders.
Bro, I'd
rather take my money.
Dude, if it wasn't for how shitty the Browns were, the Raiders are like the worst franchise in football.
I would, instead of betting on the Raiders, I would rather take whatever money I was going to bet on the Raiders and go walk around downtown and find the first homeless man and just give it to him. That's how bad I think the Raiders are. I would never want money on them.
They'll be a good spot this year because eventually
when we started off the game, they scored first and were up 7-0, and by halftime they made a quarterback change.
They deserved it because they would have been up 17-3 if it wasn't for Minshew overthrowing a 5-yard pass. It was like an easy throw.
How are you that bad that you go out, you score, you have the lead, and then all of a sudden it's like, we got to get this quarterback off the field?
Because you can't accept turnovers like that.
Just so bad.
I mean, yeah, there's nothing they can do. They're just always going to suck. It's just, if it wasn't for gambling and fantasy, like I was thinking about it like 15 years ago, I'd probably be like done with the NFL season. And I'd just be like, oh, time to go hiking on Sundays. But now obviously like I still love the NFL and I watch all the other teams and I kind of adopt other teams, right? Like I'm rooting for the Commanders to be good. I root for your Steelers. I like Justin Fields to do well. The storylines I care about. But if I was simply just a Raiders fan, I mean, there'd be no reason to even watch the rest of the season. So I'm really not sure what to do. Tyler, I'm looking forward to tomorrow, though, because I'll tell you what, I overthink these things, and I'm glad we placed these bets on Tuesday because I talked myself out of them by the rest of the week. And I remember Sunday morning going, I hate all these picks. I like Jacksonville. I thought Jacksonville was a shitty pick. I was worried about that Chicago pick. Right. What was the other one that we won fairly easily too?
Green Bay.
Yeah. Even that one shouldn't have even been as close, but I did not like them at all. So, I can't wait to talk to you about these tomorrow and just kind of let you take the wheel because you are, I think, the driving. Well, for the Chicago one, I'll take credit because remember I said my projections is just too big of an edge to ignore. But I know that you were really telling me to take Jacksonville and telling me to take Green Bay, and I was kind of hesitant there. So I'm going to be looking forward to the conversation that we're going to have tomorrow. And guys, if you want to listen to that conversation, of course, become a member, hit the thumbs up, and subscribe here on the FanSpeak Network. And we're going to have Jamie on tomorrow too, Tyler. So he's going to bring us some Green Bay homerism. Let's see, who does Green Bay play next week? Oh, they're laying 6 to the Cardinals. All right. Well, there's nothing that's really standing out to me that I absolutely love right now. I think if you do play tonight, you play the under, but I'm fine just leaving that one off the sheet. I mean, would we be that surprised if the Saints, this is the night the Saints defense just sucks?
No. It's outdoors. It's in Kansas City. Yeah. It's the perfect spot for their defense to fold.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, thank you, everyone, for joining us. Thanks for sticking with me there at the beginning. Tyler, I don't know, you probably didn't see it. I jumped on and my mic didn't work. So people are just watching my mouth move. Yeah, I had to reset my whole computer on the air. Yeah. So we will not have those issues tomorrow. No, that's fine. We'll be back at 3 Eastern, and we're going to find some more winners for next week. Fanspeak.com. I forgot to do the